From Own Real Estate, and today I wanted to give you a quick thought I have and also why it makes sense for us agents to take advantage of the end of 2023 in preparation for 2024 and our future for our career. So recently I posted something where we just started the second half of 2023, or rather we actually right now started our 2024, the first half of the year. Based on our activities today, it's going to dictate how we do in 2024 and beyond. Now, with that, I wanted to share a concept with you called active patience. I'm just going to read this word for word so at least you can read along with me. And this is from Farnham Street blog. If you want the link, I'll include it as well. But the tiny thought: the least effective form of patience is passive. A person who is passively patient waits for the universe to give them what they think they deserve. 5 years from now, they'll still be waiting. Passive patient violates Newton's third law, which states every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If there's no action then there's no result. The world isn't indebted to you, and no one is destined to come your way, tap you on your shoulder, and present you with a golden opportunity you've been waiting for. It doesn't work that way. The most effective form of patience is active patience. Active patience implies taking significant steps today to set yourself up for your future success. It's about strategically preparing for what lies ahead, saving more than you spend, investing wisely, developing the necessary skills for future job prospects, and choosing kindness and over cleverness, and so on. Here's the key lesson. Active patience puts the world on your side. If you go positive and you go first and you do it consistently, the world does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Now, why is this top of mind in preparation for our future and our career? Well, what I think is a lot of people think this market sucks. And when this market sucks, a lot of people take more of the passive patience approach than the active patience approach. And I'm challenging you to think actively and to be proactive, because there's data I'm going to share with you that I believe if you take action today, clearly, like always, your future self will benefit from. But with the data, hopefully it makes a little more sense. Now, I've been doing some research, and as you guys may or may not know, depending on how old you are, the last time inflation shot up and the Federal Reserve had to hike rates was back in the late 70s to early 80s. Now, what you see in, obviously what I'm sharing on the screen, is that rates were elevated in the mid 70s and they peaked really into 1980. And it eventually troughed back by the mid 1980s, or really around 1983. Now, around that same time, I looked into how many agents there were as licensed with National Association of Realtors as a member. And from the peak of 755,000 agents, it troughed in 1982 at 617,000. If I do some quick math on these numbers, 617 divided by 755, that's almost a 20% decline in licensed realtors paying membership dues. Now, the numbers are even uglier. There's more exits when it was the financial crisis from 2006 all the way to about 2012. It was about 30%. But the last time inflation spiked, it also led to people exiting the business because there's less transactions, commission checks are lower when prices are lower because it inversely correlates to the federal funds rate. Now, with that said, this is a tool. If you go to cmegroup.com/market/interest-rates and you find the Fed watch tool, this has been accurate ever since 2008 for each oncoming meeting. And as you can see right now, today is July 10th. There's a 92% chance that the Fed will hike rates another 25 basis points this month. And if you click through the following meetings, They're going to hold the rate until the end of the year and into next year, 2024, with a potential cut by March 20th, 2024. Now, I don't know if you're, looking at the numbers as I am, but what I do know is this. The moment that rates pivot from hike and pauses to a cut, I believe that the market is going to go into a frenzy, that gives clear indication the direction that consumers have been wanting, which is there's a positive future for home values, at least something that could be expected. And secondly, we all know in this industry that there's going to be seasonality. Seasonality shows us in at least San Francisco, San Mateo, and Santa Clara County that prices typically make the most gains in the spring summer market. So that would be usually from January all the way to June. So why am I sharing this with you? Number one, I believe peak inflation is behind us, hence why this indication of the Fed funds rate shows pauses and a first cut by first quarter of 2024. Secondly we're in a new real estate cycle, and we have already seen month over month less and less memberships with the National Association of Realtors, and that's indicating less people are going to be in the business. Lastly, the moment that we know when rates are going to pivot, that's when we know that if we look backwards 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, that's when we should have worked in the business to get market share, because that's when it was easier, when people were sitting on the fence, when people were passively patient. But that's not going to be you, because I believe with this second half of 23, you have everything it takes to use this data to make sure that you take advantage of it and you can grow your pipeline, grow your database, and ultimately take market share before anyone else pivots into the market in 2024. Now, Morningstar also came out with their projections, which is somewhat in line with what the data is showing and what historic data has shown. The interest rate forecast that they have is that rates will go to 4.5% for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage by 25, and that inflation will be under control at the target rate of 2% or less, in this case 1.8% by 24 and 27. And I'll give you the last kicker of data that I believe you should know. As you can see here, 96% of all people that have a home, that have a mortgage, have it at under 6%. 91% have a 5% or less rate, and over 70% have a rate that's under 4%. What is making prices sticky, at least in the residential space, is that people have locked in low rates and they're holding off on other life goals. Unless it's super urgent, you could see some sales now as well. But most people have been holding off. That controls inventory, and with limited inventory, it has kept prices strong, as we've seen in the marketplace. Now, with this information, you combine it with future rates are likely going to be lower. How fast or how slow they lower rates is another question, but there is pent-up demand in transacting real estate because people have goals and they've put it on hold ever since the rate hike started. Now, in recent memory, if you could remember a time where there were limitations on buying and selling and touring, that was during COVID. In 2020, we had a delayed summer and we had 2 lockdowns where the first lockdown, we weren't able to go tour homes. In fact, everything was in limbo. But if you remember what happened shortly after in 2021 and 2022, we had a frenzy in the real estate market. And I believe there's a bunch of pent-up demand of move-up buyers, of first-time buyers, of people wanting to move out of area, but figuring out what they're going to do next if they really need a mortgage next, and also they're going to get rid of their low rate now. They're thinking about timing because rates have been so high. So in short, my message to you is utilize this data. How can you interpret it for your client, but also how can you internalize it to utilize yourself so that you can educate yourself and put yourself into the right actions at the end of 2023? If you found this helpful, or if you have questions about the data, feel free to reach out to me. I wanted to share this with you as the agent community because I believe this is very empowering if you understand history and potentially know what could happen in the future. Thank you so much.